I'm Casey Kasem. Well, now we're up to the song Hold On, the first top 10 hit for the trio Wilson Phillips. It's a song co-written by group member Chynna Phillips, a song that gave her the strength to break the chains of a dead-end romance. Here's the story. When Chynna was 17, she was having problems with her boyfriend. Even though they felt they loved each other, they were fighting all the time. It just wasn't working out. Chynna was faced with a decision. Should she break up or not? After she thought about it for a while, Chynna says she was just too scared to take that big step. So she stayed with her boyfriend, suffering through argument after argument. Often she'd try to console herself by sitting down and playing the piano. Well, one day, as Chynna sadly plunked away at the keys, an idea for a song came into her head. She grabbed a notebook and a pencil and without thinking started jotting down lyrics. She wrote about not letting someone else step all over you and make you cry. She wrote that you can find the strength to break the chains that bind you. If you just hold on, you can change your life. When Chynna read the words she'd written, she realized she'd been writing about her very own problems with her boyfriend. Her words were telling her to break up with him and turn her life around. And that's exactly what she did. Later, when she joined Carney and Wendy Wilson in the trio Wilson Phillips, Chynna took the inspiring words she'd written and with the help of Carney and their producer Glenn Ballard, turned those lyrics into a song, a hit song. This week, the song that gave Chynna Phillips the strength to end her dead-end romance and head into a bright new future has transformed her life still again.
Hi, it's Wendy
and Carney
and Chynna from Wilson Phillips, and this is American Top 40. Hey Shadoe, where's our hit on this week's Billboard chart?
Ladies, your first hit, a recent number 1, is at number 4 this week.
The hits from coast to coast.
At number 3 this week is last week's number 1 song from Wilson Phillips. We've talked a lot about the pretty blonde of the trio, Chynna Phillips. She's sung lead on all the hits. Her parents are John Phillips and his former wife, Michelle. They hit big in the 60s with the Mamas and Papas. And these days, you can see Michelle Phillips, weekly, playing the character of Ann Matheson on TV's Knots Landing. But let's not forget Chynna's other relative you could see on TV every week during most of the 70s. That was her half-sister, Mackenzie Phillips, who played Julie Cooper on One Day at a Time. So what does Mackenzie think of Chynna's success? She says, "At first I didn't know whether to be proud or jealous, so I've settled on a bit of both. I'm very proud of her, and I can't wait to see what her future has in store." And Mackenzie also has a music side to her talent. She's been touring with her dad in a current version of the Mamas and Papas. Well, her half-sister Chynna has her own touring schedule. She, along with Carney and Wendy Wilson, will soon be crisscrossing the U.S. singing all the hits from their debut album. Did you see Chynna Phillips and her mom Michelle on the cover of People? Oh, mamma mia. Wilson Phillips are at number 40 this week with You're in Love.
Casey's Top 40.
Now we're up to the latest hit for a singer who was once told by a psychic that she had been her mother's mother in a former life. Now, that may sound a bit strange to you, but to Chynna Phillips of the group Wilson Phillips, it was one of the greatest revelations of her life. You see, Chynna Phillips is the daughter of Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas. And Chynna says that life with her mother hasn't always been easy. As Chynna was growing up, her mother went through a lot of problems with drinking and drugs. Her mom went through 3 marriages, including one to film actor Dennis Hopper that lasted only 8 days. Mom went through a lot of other relationships as well, including well-publicized long-term ones with actors Jack Nicholson and Warren Beatty. With Chynna's father, singer John Phillips, hardly in touch at all, the young girl had a difficult childhood, and there were many times that Chynna and her mother weren't speaking at all. Then one day, Chynna visited a psychic who told her she had been her mother's mother in a former life. Chynna says suddenly everything clicked into place. She realized that her role in life wasn't to turn to her mother for strength. She had to be there to give her mother strength. Chynna says that psychic has totally transformed her relationship with her mom. Quote, "I've found a lot more patience for her. I've learned to accept her as she is. I've learned that it's all right that she's so different from me. And I'm here when she needs me." This week, the singer who found a new level of maturity and healed a relationship after some advice from a psychic climbs 5 notches to number 20 on Casey's Top 40.
Casey's Top 40.
Well, now we're up to the latest hit for a singer who saved herself from disaster when she realized she was destroying herself in exactly the same way her famous parents had. Her name is Chynna Phillips, and Chynna is 1/3 of the singing group called Wilson Phillips. Chynna's also the daughter of 2 former members of the Mamas and the Papas, John and Michelle Phillips. John and Michelle divorced many years ago, and both of them have written autobiographies that detail the long battle they each had with drugs, books read by their daughter Chynna. Now, you'd think that Chynna would have learned from her parents' mistakes, but she says at first she didn't. When she was in high school, Chynna went through a long and intense period of drinking and drugging, a tough, depressing period that reached a low point one morning when she was in her senior year. She had spent the night before, as she had spent many nights that difficult year, partying with drugs, beer, and vodka. And she woke up in a fog. But something in her mind clicked that morning. Something told her to take a closer look at what she was doing to herself. One phrase kept on popping into her head. I deserve better. I deserve better. So Chynna says that morning she decided she'd change her lifestyle completely. And she did. With professional help, Chynna kicked her bad habits and started to deal with the emotional problems that had set the stage for her drug and alcohol abuse to begin with. Chynna also started herself on the productive, creative road that led her to form a group with her friends Carney and Wendy Wilson. The group, Wilson Phillips. This week, their latest hit edges up a notch to number 12.
The hits from coast to coast.
At 36 this week is a song from the album Shadows and Light. That album came onto the chart all the way up at number 4 last week. It's the brand new one from Wilson Phillips. They've known each other since they were, well, just how young were they when they first met? Chynna's mom, Knots Landing star Michelle Phillips, remembers and told us what kind of kids they were.
They were the very, very best of friends. It was really Chynna and Carney who were together from the time they were born. They're the same age, within 2 months. But I remember the first time we went to the park together, and it seems that from that very day on, we would get the girls together all the time. And then, of course, Wendy came along, and she was always like the little younger sister who was always tagging along. I don't remember them ever getting into any trouble at all. I remember them singing together and hanging out together. They just loved each other from the very beginning.
You won't see me cry.
You Won't See Me Cry, the 6th hit for Wilson Phillips, is down 4 to 36.
Hi, it's Carney.
And Wendy and Chynna
From Wilson Phillips.
And there's more American Top 40 to come as the Shadow counts them down.
The hits from coast to coast.